next question is about staking. Would staking change how you do fundamental analysis, seeing that there are some cash flows with some cryptocurrencies? And then let me add this on with a different question. What cryptos does your research demonstrate staking and creating passive income? Okay, so this is something we have been researching, and we think right now it does not change much, but we think long term, as we scale up and try to really delve deeper into doing fundamental analysis on projects, we think it will be a factor, especially maybe even bringing in some on-chain data. But right now, at the moment, we're doing a purely fundamental analysis based approach that's not using on-chain data, because some of the currencies we look at are pre-market, right? Some cryptocurrencies we research haven't begun trading yet, or don't even have much on-chain data to look at, because right now we think on-chain metrics is still nascent. However, we do think cryptocurrencies that do have staking, that are also good cryptocurrencies to hold for the long term, we definitely do think it does make sense to hold them and stake them. So in terms of which currencies we like for staking, it's pretty straightforward, same thing. So we go through here to our value investor, we find the top cryptocurrencies, and whichever ones are in our portfolio that have staking available, then it makes sense to stake it, especially if you're holding it for the long term, right? So for example, Ethereum is right now number 2. They'll be launching Ethereum proof of stake by July is their target deadline. So let's assume proof of stake is working by Q3, and you have Ethereum as a long-term hold in your portfolio. It definitely makes sense to stake it, because the staking reward will be 7% of your Ethereum holding annually. So that's basically kind of like a dividend, and that makes sense. Cosmos also has staking. Blockstack hasn't announced staking to my knowledge. Binance has some staking, I believe. Matic Network is launching staking. So I would just go through here looking at the value investor. So for anybody who's holding for the long term, and then find which ones have staking available. If they do, then it makes sense to stake them. One other option, let's say the currencies don't have staking available, but there are platforms that do allow you to lend them out. That could also be one other way to earn some extra money on your locked up assets. So platforms I've talked about before are Celsius Network. So let me see if I can pull this up here. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so I think DeFi Prime is one platform. So actually, no, that is not it. Just give me 1 second. Okay, DeFiRate.com is the site we like to compare with. Okay, so let me just go to that. So this goes through, and they keep track of different rates for different cryptocurrencies and different platforms. So for example, if we go here to lending, so let's say you have DAI or just even Bitcoin, right? And you want to know what platform will give you the best rate. So here we see BlockFi has 6%, Bitfinex 6.09%, Crypto.com 6%. DAI, we definitely recommend having some form of stablecoin in addition to your portfolio, as just a way to have exposure to fiat. That way, if you want to buy and take advantage of dips, you always have some cash on hand. So I would definitely leverage a site like this to go through different cryptocurrencies in your portfolio and see what platform gives you the best rate. Right, so for Ethereum, we see it's Bitfinex. BlockFi is reasonable as well. Bitfinex is pretty good for Ethereum and Bitcoin. If you have Maker, CoinList seems to be the best. If you have ZRX, for example, Bitfinex is the best for that as well. And we'll definitely spread the risk across different platforms, because we all know in crypto, there's risk everywhere, even in things that aren't meant to be as risky. We've seen, especially when it comes to DeFi platforms, there've been glitches or hacks. So definitely do not lock everything up. I think a good strategy would be to spread across maybe 3 or 4 different platforms. So for example, if you're doing just if you have stable coins like just DAI, I would spread that across different platforms. So you could use DYDX, you could use Aave, which has a good rate, maybe even some on CoinList, maybe even some on some centralized platforms like Celsius, because Celsius actually is not. So this only shows DeFi platforms, but Celsius has better rates than that. Let me pull it up here. Because Celsius has rates, last time I checked, that they vary from 4 to as much as 7% annually. So if we go down here on the website, which is celsius.network, so if we go to so DAI, they have 8%. Now, if you also have the Celsius token, you can earn up to 11%. So we think this is definitely a good hedge in any portfolio. Obviously, especially when there's lots of volatility. And then also, so for example, if you have any of these other cryptocurrencies, like let's say you have EOS in your portfolio or some other, let me see which one we talked about. So we talked about Bitcoin. Bitcoin, they're giving 4%. Ethereum is 3.8%. I think those are the only ones currently in our long-term portfolio. So I would say, yeah, lock up some Bitcoin on platforms like this. So I would use Celsius. I would use maybe Bitfinex, BlockFi as well. So just spread the risk across different platforms. That way, if one of them goes down, you basically don't lose everything. Let me stop there. Any questions or comments on staking and lending, borrowing?